Hi, my name is Dina. I'm back today with another video for PotomacBeads. Today we're going to be making my oval piece of pie bracelet. So gather up your materials that are listed down below, as well as a comfortable length of dragon thread, size 8, in the smoke color, if you choose the same colors as what I'm doing. And then meet me back and I will show you the first step. Alrighty, so I have out on my bead mat, I've got little piles of everything that's needed. You need your PieDuos, your 2 colors of your 11-Os, your bicones, and your 15s. So you need to make little piles of everything because you will need everything here at the beginning. Now what I've done at first is just taken one of the beads, one of the 11-Os, and made it a stop bead. I left about 6 to 7 inches of a tail thread, and that's so when we get done with the bracelet we can come back and we can make the loop for our clasp, which if you haven't noticed already, you might notice that my list of supplies did not include a clasp, and that's because we're going to make our own, so I will show you that at the end. Alrighty, so I've got my stop bead on there. We're going to start with our PieDuo. Now our PieDuo, for those that are not familiar with it, it looks like a little piece of pie. So I'm going to consider the rounded edge right here, that's going to be the crust edge. And then I'll either say the inside edge or the pointed edge, and that's going to be on the other side. Because a PieDuo has 2 holes. There's 1 and there's 2. So first PieDuo that we pick up, we're going to go from one of the holes, doesn't matter which one, but from the crust side or the outer side inwards. We're going to pick up a second PieDuo, but we're going to go in the opposite direction, going from the crust or the inner side or the point side towards the outer side or the crust side. I'm saying both at the beginning because I'm probably going to say both words interchangeably, and I don't want to get anybody all messed up or confused with it. Sorry, I made myself a little knot there. I had to get it out. Alright, so that's how you want your first 2 PieDuos to look. So now we're going to get from this hole of the PieDuo to the other hole on the PieDuo that the thread's coming out of. To do that, we're going to add 4 15s. Now if you decide to use a different brand than the Miyuki, you may have to add a different number. I'm essentially just adding enough beads to where you can cover up any thread that would be in between those 2 holes right there. So if you're using a different brand, or if you have a different type of seed bead that sometimes has a bigger coating on it, you may need to use less, and sometimes you may have to use more. It just depends on what it is. Just put an amount, somewhere around the amount of 4 on your needle, and then go straight through that open hole of that PieDuo. And then when you pull tight, that puts your beads on the outer edge. Now we're going to pick up a bicone. We're going to pick up our third PieDuo, going from the inner part to the outer part. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick up 4 15s. So we have bicone, the PieDuo, and 4 15s. Let that fall to the end or towards your project and have that one sit similar to that. So now you're coming out of this hole. You want to go through the open hole of that same PieDuo. And now we're going to go through the open hole of the first PieDuo that we added, going in the opposite direction. So from the crust side, or from the point side to the crust side. So inside to outside. And then when you pull that tight, then you'll have a little half circle-ish with the bicone in the center. So now we're going to add 4 more 15s. Get from the one hole of the middle or the first PieDuo that we added, and then go down that first hole that we started with the 15s. So now we need to get back over here to the bicone. To do that, we're going to go through that next hole. If you catch on to that 15 like I did, that's perfect. We need to go through that anyway, because this part we're going to go through the other 15s, go down that second hole of your PieDuo, And if you can catch on to the bicone, great. If not, that's fine. Just go through your bicone. Now you're set up for the second part. So get done with that part, and then I'll meet you back and I'll show you the next part. Okay, so our thread and needle is coming out of that bicone. So now we're going to do another right angle weave. If you hadn't noticed already, we essentially did a right angle weave with your bicones and your 15s, the bicone, the 15, and the PieDuos. It's basically a right angle weave, just using two hole beads. So we're going to do another one. So we're already coming out of the bicone, so we're going to add a 15, and then we're going to add 2 of our pink color ones. I'll call this one color B, and then I'll call this one color A. So 2 of your color B colors, 2 of your B colored 11-Os, and then another 15. So 15, 2 11s, and a 15. Then we're going to go back through in the same direction, that bicone. There you go. We're going to go through the first 15 and the first 11 and then come out. And what we're going to end up doing is making a little picot stitch. So pick up another of your color B of your 11s and then go back down the other 11 and the other 15. And then that puts it in a picot. So now we need to get back around to go through that picot stitch that we just added, so that last 11. So go back through your bicone again, and then go through the 15, and then come out that second 11. So the 15 and then the 2 11s. And that second 11 is the one that we added this last time. So now we're going to finish out this portion, and we're going to add this little peak plus the bicone to this section. So to do that, we're going to add an 11, a 15, a bicone, a 15, and an 11. And then we're going to round out, meaning going through that 11-O over here on the picot in the same direction the thread's going in right now. We're going to continue through that first 11 and that first 15. Go through your bicone. Continue through the next 15 and the next 11. We are now going to skip over that picot 15 or 11. So that way it sticks out on this side as well. And it makes a little X in the center. So now we need to get set up to add our next section, which will be this over here. So you just go straight through the bicone, and now you're set up to add that second section. So get done with that part, and I'll show you the next part. Okay, so to get this portion to look like this portion, we need to add another PieDuo. So add another PieDuo going from the inside to the outside. Go ahead and put on 4 15s. Let that fall down. You're coming out of the one hole of the PieDuo, you need to go down the other hole. Ouch, without poking yourself with the needle. Add your next PieDuo, going from the inner part to the outer part again. 4 more 15s. Let it fall to the product. Coming out the one hole of the PieDuo, go down the second hole of the PieDuo. And then one more time, do the same thing. So PieDuo, 4 15s. And then go down the open hole of that same PieDuo. Now if you can, and if you want to, you can go ahead and go through the bicone that's sitting there. And if you can get through it, go ahead and go through the first PieDuo that we added. because now we're going to get ourselves set up to where we can add some decorations around the edge. So now we're going to go through those 4/15s right next to where your thread is coming out of. And then after you get through that 4th 15, this is where we're going to start adding in the other color of your 11-ohs. So first we're going to pick up a 15. We're going to pick up color A of your 11s, a B, an A, and a 15. So you essentially have a 15 and then 3 11s and a 15 if you decided just to do just one color of 11s, which is perfectly fine too. And then we're coming out of this section of the 15s. We're going to go through all of these sections of the 15s. So all 4 of those. And then when you pull tight, when you get that done, it should lay those seed beads right on the edge. And basically your alternate color, or color B of your 11-ohs, should just about line up with the slight opening in between the 2 PieDuos. So we're going to do that again. So 15, 11, 11, 11, and a 15. Go through the next 4. Now those are lined up there. Okay, so in between your 2 sections of your PieDuos, we're going to add something slightly different. So we're going to put a 15, then we're going to pick up color B of your 11s, a bicone, color B11, and a 15. We're going to go from this set of 4 15-ohs, and we're going to go through this set of 4 15-ohs. And here again, if you want to use all 11s in this section, perfectly fine too. Just depends on what kind of fits with your beads, what style beads or manufacturer that you're using, and what suits your style. So there you go. So then we're around this side again. So we're going to pick up the 5 beads, the 5 seed beads, and then we're going to go through, skipping over, or missing that stop bead. We're going to go through those 4 beads. And I just switched that in my hand to where now the stop thread is coming out on the top. If anybody lost me there. Pick up your second of these 5 beads. Go through the next 4 15s on that edge. And then now we're going to pick up our 5 beads. That includes our bicone this time. So 15, 11, bicone, 11, 15. Coming out of that set of 4, we're going to go through this set of 4. And if you catch on to some of the other beads, perfectly fine, because that is where we need to go anyway. So we can get set up for adding the next one in line. So continue on through the beads. Where you want to stop is bead number 4 of your 15s. Now remember, the first time we added the 15s, we added 4 15s. That second time that we added 15s, we added 1 in the beginning and in the end. So now we have a total of 6 of our 15-ohs here. So you want to go through the first 4 and then come out. And then that's where you need to be set up for the next step. So go ahead and get there, and then I will show you what to do next, because it can vary depending on what size bracelet that you want. Alrighty, so now we're set up to where we can start adding in our second. Like we have the first one done, now we're going to be adding our second one. So as you can see, I have 2 of the same colorway sitting here, of my alternate colorway at least, that's listed down below. I have one that is connected directly to the next one. Then I have one to where I have an extra set of seed beads in between the 2 components. That's because I did this one first on the left, and it's slightly too small. I can barely put it on my wrist. I wear somewhere around a 7 1/4 is pretty much a comfortable size for me. So this one was just slightly smaller. This is about a 6 3/4 ish, maybe off by like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch there, but somewhere around in there for that type of a bracelet. This one ended up being just around a 7 1/4, where it's comfortable for me. So it just depends on what your length is you're comfortable with. Now, if you need something that's bigger than a 7 1/4, maybe you need to add more than just one row of the ladder stitch in between the two components. You may have to add 2 rows of it, or you can add a row of your 11-Os instead of a row of the 15s and see if that helps. It's something that you need to play around with. I don't have exact counts because these are the only ones that I've made so far. So just play around with it, and if you do play around with it, definitely leave a little comment down below so that way anybody else that needs to play around with the links can have an idea of what beads that they can add for that length. So to do just that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that extra row in between. So to do that, we're going to pick up 2 of our 15s and we're going to ladder stitch these on by going through 2 15s from the original component. So we're coming out of the component right now. We need to go back through the 2 15s that we just added. And then that puts those in a ladder stitch form to the first component. So now we're going to start our second component. Excuse me. So we're going to add 2 more 15s. We're going to ladder stitch these guys on. And then we're set up for the next component. So go ahead and get to that step. I'm going to get a drink of water so I stop coughing in everybody's ears, and I'll meet you right back. Okay, sorry about that. I do have allergies, and today is just one of those allergy days that's it's flaring up. So I have water with me now, so if I need to, I'll take another sip. Alrighty, so we're set up to start our next component. So this component is going to be basically the same steps except for just a small little variation. So to start off with, we're going to pick up 1 15, and then we're going to pick up a PieDuo going from the outer to the inner portion. We're going to go ahead and pick up a second PieDuo from the inner to the outer, and then we're going to pick up 4 more 15s. So the only thing different so far is that we added a 15 at the beginning. Then we're coming out of the one hole of the PieDuo, that second PieDuo, we're going to go through the second hole. When you pull tight, it should look something similar to that. We're going to pick up a bicone, and our third PieDuo, and then 4 15s. And let that fall down. And then go through, then go through the open hole of that third PieDuo that we added, and then proceed on to the open hole of the first PieDuo. Now here's your second variation. We're going to go ahead and add another 15, and then we need to get ourselves down here to our bicone so that way we can start that middle section again. To do that, we're going to go through the 3 15s and then the PieDuo that we originally added. And when you pull all of that down, I'm giving it a little bit of a tug because I was a little loose on my tension there. Now you have your 4 15s on your outer edge of your original PieDuo, plus 4 on the other two. So now you just need to get yourself back to that bicone. So go through the next hole of the next, or the first hole of the next PieDuo, your 4 15s, the other hole of the PieDuo, and then go through the bicone. Now I should probably mention this now. I should have mentioned it earlier, but didn't think about it until just now. If your 15s are tight when you're using the dragon thread size 8, you can wiggle your needle through the beads, which is perfectly fine. You can use pliers to help get your needle out if it's to the point where it feels like it's going to break. Take the needle out, don't go through that bead. If you're able to go back through your beads and take that specific bead out, then go ahead and do that. The reason why I'm saying that is that the purple and green one that I made, I broke 2 or 3 of them, so I had to go back and add them. Sometimes you're going to have to skip some beads, and I don't know if people had noticed, but right here, there I go again. Right here, I had to skip that 3rd bead on the left. I should be doing my ladder stitch through that 3rd bead as well as the bead that it's going through right now. You can kind of see my thread path on both sides of the green beads there. I had to skip that bead because that's part of my original 4 that I had added, and I had already gone through the whole section, and that was the only thing I had left to do. So I had to skip over that bead, and then I think I was coming from this direction actually, but anyways, I had to skip over that bead and not use it. So I just went through the 1 bead. Not really too many people are going to notice that unless somebody's really looking at your items. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And then to give you a little bit more of an idea, when I added my 2 ladder stitches on, and then this one, I skipped over that ladder stitch right there, which is the original 4 that I added for that PieDuo. I skipped over, so yes, you're going to see a little bit of thread on the back side of it, because that is the back side of my bracelet. So you are going to see a little bit of thread if you have to skip them over this in this fashion, but don't force it. I mean, if you break a bead, it is what it is. You can either go back through your product and add the bead back in, or you can just let it be. One of those two. It really doesn't matter. But try not to break beads, because I always get sad when I do that. So whatever you're able to do, whatever you're comfortable with doing, go ahead and do that. So now you're set up here on this portion to do the same thing on this one. So if you need a refresher on it, go ahead and rewind back to those sections, because I'll leave it up to you to do that over again to continue on. Now, I made 5 of these components in both of my bracelets, and then the ladder stitch was the only thing that I did different in both bracelets. So adding that extra row of 15s added about a ½ inch or so, somewhere around in there. So whatever you're comfortable with doing, and you may even have to add 6 of your components. Just depends on what you're going for with your look. So go ahead and finish out that portion of the bracelet, and then meet me back, and I will see you at the end of it, so that way I can show you how to do your clasp portion. Alright, so now that you have all of your components done, again, I've done 5 components again, we're going to start on our clasp. Now we're going to make our own clasp. If you want to do it this way, perfectly fine. Just, watch this section and continue on. If you don't want to make your own clasp, that's fine. Just use, either a cut button or a toggle, or really whatever you want to use. You can use a really pretty clasp garden clasp if you like. Things like that. Just whatever you want to do. I just thought it would be something different to do my own clasp on this one. Partially because I couldn't find anything at the house that would go with the bracelet, so I made up my own. Alrighty, so if you're going to follow along, we're going to go ahead and put a ladder stitch in between the last component and then the clasp. So go ahead and add your 2 15s and then ladder stitch those on. And then you'll need to add 2 more 15s to get started with this portion of your clasp. If you're going to make your own clasp, I would definitely suggest to do this portion first and not the loop first. And the only reason to that, unless you've done a clasp on your own before and you've done it many times and you know how many seed beads will go around it and everything, then that's fine. You can do that set and do the loop first and then do the other clasp. On this one, since I've only done it a couple of times, I'd rather do it this way first, because if we mess up and the loop is too small and or too big, then you have to take it out and so on and so forth. So it could be kind of a mess. So I usually suggest do this part first. Okay, so now I'm set up to start adding part of my clasp. Now this part is going to be very similar to the adding the second component on. So we're going to add 115 and then 1 PieDuo going from the outside to the inside. A second PieDuo going from the inside to the outside. And then 4 15s. Then we're going to go through that open hole of that second PieDuo and then pull tight. Now we're going to add more PieDuos. We're going to add another PieDuo and 4 15s. Pull that down and then go through that second hole of that PieDuo. And try to pull tight so it makes it into kind of the PieDuo, or the pie pieces sit close to each other snugly. And then add your last PieDuo and your 4 15s. Then we're going to go down through that hole, open hole of the PieDuo, and then finish out by going through the open hole of the first PieDuo that we added. And then just like the other second component on, we're going to add one more 15, go through those last 4 PieDuos, no, last 4 15s. Actually, there's 3 15s. Goodness gracious. And then you can actually not have to go through the PieDuo if you don't want to. You can if you want, and then continue on. But I'm just going to come straight out of that last 15 and be set up for the next part. So now in between the 4 15s, we're going to be doing similar to what we did over here, where we went in between this group of 4 and this group of 4. So we're adding a 15, color A, color B, color A of your 11s, and then another 15. And then we're going to go through that next section of your 4 15s. And then we're going to do that 3 more times. After we get done with this part, we're then going to add more bicones on the top. Now I just did mine on bicones on the top, but if you like, you can also do bicones on the bottom. If you choose to do that, then you'll just need 4 more bicones than what I have listed down below on the supplies and the numbers that you need of those supplies. So it just depends on what you want to do. And then I'm going to finish out going through those first 4 15s, as well as the 15 and then the first 2 11s. So I'm going to come out of color B of that middle part of the 11s, which is the pink one for me. So now, coming out of that color, and now we're set up to add our bicones. So for our bicones, I have to cheat real quick. Okay. So we're adding color A. Sorry, I lost it already. Okay, color A, 15, bicone, 15, color A. We're still going on. We're going to do another 15, another bicone, a 15. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Okay, starting over. Sorry. Okay, we're going to pick up color A of your 11, 15, bicone, 15, color B, then a 15, bicone, 15, color A. Okay, so that's what you want. Now what's going to end up happening is that color B in the center, that 11-0 in the center of everything, we're going to go through that one several times. So we're coming out of the right hand side down here in the bottom of color B. We're going to go up here to the one on the top and go through just color B. And then we're going to circle around that bead, go back through color A, the 15, the bicone, the 15, and then we're going to come out of color B there in the center. And my cat keeps jumping up and down from the desk. Okay, so now we're coming out of that color B there in the center. We're going to add a 15. She's walking back again. We're going to add another 15, a bicone, a 15, and a color A. Now we're coming out. I'm going to go ahead and go to the one here on the left. So I'm going to go through just that color color B, on the side on the left. Now we're going to round out and go back through the 11, the 15, the bicone, the 15, and then we're going to go through this, if I can get through it, just this color A in the center, and I'm going from the bottom to the top with the way that I have it held in my hand at the moment. The reason for that is that after we add this last section here, we're going to circle back around that 11-0 there in the center, the color B again. We're going to come back here, and then we're going to finish out by going in the opposite side, so the left-hand side of that first 11-0 that we started off with. So I want to situate my thread to where it's going to round through that bead a couple of times. So that's why we're going in that specific situation. And so now we're going to add a 15, bicone, 15, and a color A. And then we're going to go through that last side, color B, and then round that out. So go back through your 11, 15, bicone, 15, and then try to pull tight to keep as little thread showing as possible. Then go back through the 11 in the center, and then your original 15, bicone, 15, and 11 on the side. And then, like I said earlier, we're going to go back through the color B 11 that we started off with. And then that gets your bicones on the top. Now, like I said earlier, you can actually do this on the bottom side of it, or the back side of the bracelet if you like. I just did it on the top. You can do it on both. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around the outer edge of this component, and as I'm going around, I'm going to tie a couple of knots, and then on the back of the component somewhere, or down in here on this last component, the fifth component that we added, that's where I'm going to tie off and end the thread. So go ahead and get that section done, and then I'll meet you back here on the beginning where we left our 6 or 7 inches of thread, and I will show you how to do the loop for this one. Okay, so now we are set up to start our loop. So my thread is coming out, and just like we were going to add on either the other part of the clasp or one of the other components. So we're going to ladder stitch on 2 beads, just like everything else. So go ahead and ladder stitch 2 beads on, and then your next 2 beads, and then after that you are set up to start your loop. Now the pattern that I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with 115. I have them all in a row because I forgot to do my ladder stitch, so I had to re-record at this section. So I'm starting out with 115, and then I do my 3 11s. Oops. So I'm doing a blue, a pink, and a blue, and then 4 15s. And then that's the pattern that I'm going to repeat 5 times, and then add one more of your 15s on the last side. Oops, come on, 15. So that's 3 11s, so that's 2 patterns and a half, and then that's 3, and then 4 now, and then 3 11s, then our 4 15s, and then your last of your 3 11s, and then the last 15. So I'll show that to you again. So we have 5 sections of 4 15s. So we have 1 2 3 4 5. Then we have a 15 and then 3 11s on either side of that. So I'll just hold that there for a second, just in case any of that did not make sense and you need to look at it for a little while. And then after you got that on your thread and needle, just go back through that portion of your ladder stitch. So now you have your loop. Now I would suggest to test it and make sure that this is not too big and not too small for your clasp to go through. Now mine is slightly big because you can see that there's a little bit of gap and a little bit of room for everything to move. Once you add a second layer of thread through your loop, which is what we're going to do next, once you add that, it's going to tighten it up just slightly to where you're not going to see that much movement of your clasp. It's still going to be a little loose. When I did my purple and green version, the first 2 that I did, both of those are still kind of loose, which, you know, it is what it is. And if you need to make this a little bit smaller, if you're a little worried about that, perfectly fine. Just make your loop a little bit smaller. If you added the bicones on the back of the other part of the clasp, then you may not even have to make this any smaller at all. It may fit just fine, but like I said, I have not done that yet, so I don't know what that's going to look like. So now that I have my loop completed, I'm just going to move myself down the ladder stitch to get back to the first component that we worked on. And then I'm going to tie off, make some loops and tie off, and then you have a completed bracelet with your own clasp that you made. Thanks so much for watching my oval piece of pie bracelet tutorial. Can't wait to see all the different pictures and all the different colorways and everything that other people come up with to make this bracelet, so don't forget to take those pictures and to post them to Potomac's Facebook page. Again, thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video because I know it's going to be a good one.